blood of my soul. Moon-pale dust drifted through cracks in the tomb ceiling, curling like ghostly ribbons around the stone sarcophagus. Deep inside, Gabriel Thorne woke to the thunder of his own pulse, slow, mighty, disoriented. He tasted centuries of stale earth on his tongue, the faint tang of blood memory burning down his throat. His fingers flexed against marble that had once been spelled shut by betrayal. The restraint crumbled beneath a single surge of will, fissures spider-veining across the lid until it shattered and fell in muted fragments. He drew his first breath of the new age, and the air quivered with strange energies. Metal, electricity, the low growl of distant machines. Somewhere above ground lights glimmered where torches had once burned. Yet layered over everything was a scent that punched through years of loss. Wild jasmine, a note of salt-sweet skin he had mourned in every dreamless night. Her soul was near. Gabriel swung his legs over the broken coffin, boots striking dusty flagstones. Columns leaned in the vast crypt, draped with tattered banners bearing his family crest. The world had abandoned this manor's underbelly long ago, leaving statues to weep mildew and iron to rust in silence. He straightened with a predator's grace, dark hair brushing his jaw, crimson eyes adjusting to gloom. Memory flashed, his mate's final cry as Malrich's curse tore the life from her body, the searing agony when stone sealed around him. Rage flared, hot enough to crack bone, but the jasmine scent tugged him forward. He passed mosaic murals depicting knights kneeling to vampire lords, then pushed open a door braced shut by collapsed beams. Night wind flooded in, carrying the hum of traffic from miles away, and ragged clouds skated over a sharp crescent moon. The world pulsed with neon glow beyond the distant hills. Roads split the forest into ribbons of asphalt. He drank it in, heart thrumming with awakened power. Somewhere in that bright sprawl she lived again. He would find her before Malrich did. Lila Morgan tucked a curl behind her ear as she photographed the weather-beaten gargoyle perched over the abandoned Valerian estate. Her museum colleague, Trevor, camera fanatic and ghost story addict, wandered ahead along the cracked veranda. "Trevor, these images won't catalog themselves," Lila called, half amused, half annoyed. She adjusted her angle, capturing the clawed wings silhouetted against moonlight. Tomorrow the Institute would decide whether the gargoyles could be salvaged for restoration, and she needed perfect references. Trevor waved from a broken archway. "You have to see the ballroom, it's like a gothic time capsule." Lila hesitated. The manor's emptiness unnerved her. An hour ago she joked about midnight expeditions, but ever since they crossed the threshold, she felt watched by walls too eager to whisper. She exhaled and followed. Inside, debris littered a cavernous hall, shattered chandeliers, a grand piano warped by rot, moonbeams slicing through cracks in the roof to spotlight dust motes drifting like tiny spirits. Trevor's footsteps echoed. Lila's gaze snagged on an ornate staircase, its banister carved with vines. Sudden vertigo swept her, the scent of jasmine and candle smoke, a swirl of silk on polished marble, music she didn't know yet remembered. The scene flickered, gone before she could name it. She pressed a palm to her forehead. Trevor noticed. "You okay?" "Just musty air," she said, forcing a smile. A new sound made both of them freeze. Wood creaking above, steady as deliberate footsteps. Trevor lifted his flashlight. "Probably raccoons." Lila frowned. The steps were too measured. "Let's finish and get out." They crossed to the gilded doors leading into a corridor choked with fallen plaster. Trevor crouched to shoot a filigreed wall sconce. Lila angled her phone, snapping references of the faded damask wallpaper. The air seemed colder here. Then the floor groaned. Lila glanced down just as boards splintered beneath Trevor. He gasped, dropping the flashlight, and plunged waist-deep into a hidden shaft. Lila lunged, gripping his forearm. "I've got you," she strained, heels skidding on crumbling edges. Trevor's eyes were wide, legs kicking in empty dark. A louder crash cracked overhead. Wood snapping, glass raining. Lila instinctively jerked Trevor upward, but her footing slipped. They both teetered toward the pit. A blur swept between collapsing beams, a tall figure in a long coat gliding as if gravity bowed to him. Strong arms seized Trevor's collar, lifting him with impossible ease before hauling Lila back onto solid planks. She staggered, adrenaline roaring. Trevor collapsed onto the dusty carpet, coughing. Lila raised her gaze to their rescuer. He stood unmoving, crimson eyes fixed on her as though she were sunrise. His face was sculpted and pale, framed by raven hair streaked with ash. Moonlight brushed his broad shoulders, the torn edges of a dark coat, and the elegant hands still curved in the shape of rescue. Something ancient pulsed from him. Power, sorrow, longing. He spoke one word, voice velvet and cracked with heartbreak. Ilara. The name echoed inside Lila like a bell tolling across water. She swallowed hard. You have the wrong person. But her pulse thundered, not just with fear, recognition, buried deep. Gabriel stepped closer. Lila felt Trevor scramble upright behind her, muttering thanks. Gabriel's gaze never left her. Forgive me, he said, lower now. You are. I'm Lila, she interrupted, forcing steadiness. Archivist. And I appreciate the help, but we need to call emergency services about that hole. Gabriel's eyes flicked to the gaping shaft, then back. No one will answer. This land is beyond the city grid. He'll be all right. How do you know? Because I see no fatal wound. He sounded matter-of-fact. He turned to Trevor. Your leg? Trevor flexed. Bruised, not broken, thanks, man. He offered a shaky grin. We should probably leave before the ceiling caves. Lila agreed, but the stranger stepped into their exit path. Attention locked on her face, as if she carried a secret map only he could read. You shouldn't return, he said quietly. This place is not safe tonight. Trevor blew out a nervous laugh. Yeah, figured. Gabriel's eyes softened, pain flickering through the crimson. Lila? He said her name like a promise. Do you feel it? The pull beneath your ribs? She shivered despite herself. I feel weird because we almost died and you're acting like a Victorian actor who wandered off a film set. Something flicked across his expression. Hurt? Amusement? I have been asleep a long time, he murmured. Forgive my manner. Trevor tugged at Lila's sleeve. Let's bounce. They skirted the stranger. He allowed it, but as Lila passed, he angled toward her, voice almost a prayer. I will find you again. Lila hurried after Trevor without looking back, heart hammering. Outside, they clambered over vines to the gravel driveway where Trevor's Jeep waited. Crickets sang under looming pines. Trevor blew into cupped hands, shaking adrenaline away. That guy was insane, he said. Did you see his eyes? Contacts, maybe. Probably a squatter. Lila muttered, though the explanation felt thin. Trevor groaned, rolling his shoulder. Thanks for grabbing me, thought I was toast. Stop almost falling to your doom and I won't need to, she said lightly. But her mind was far away, on the stranger's crimson gaze, and the name he'd breathed like devotion. Wind rustled trees. Leaves rattled. A chill crawled over Lila's skin. She turned toward the manor. On the highest balcony, a silhouette watched, coat billowing. Moonlight silvered his profile. Trevor didn't see. He was busy unlocking the Jeep. Lila lifted a hand in hesitant farewell. The figure inclined his head, a gesture both courtly and sorrowful, then melted into shadow. On the drive back to the city, Trevor talked nonstop about their brush with death. Lila stared out the window. The highway's sodium lamp streaked across glass, washing over her reflection. For a moment her eyes seemed older, full of grief she couldn't name. She blinked, and they were just her own again. Gabriel remained on the balcony until the Jeep's taillights vanished beyond the tree line. Only then did he exhale, and with it, a tide of emotions so raw he nearly crumpled. She lived. Different voice, Different hair woven with city lights, but the soul thrummed the same melody. He had felt it in the tremor of her pulse when he held her wrists, smelled it in the faint jasmine threading her skin despite modern perfumes. Ilara reborn. Lila. But her eyes had not yet remembered him. The curse still clung like frost petals around her memory, hiding their past beneath mundane rationale. He could not blame her. A deep vibration tremored through the air, dark as poisoned wine. Gabriel's head snapped toward the forest. Nightbirds burst from branches, fleeing. That tremor he knew too well. Malrich's power uncoiling like a serpent from distant catacombs. "So you wake as well," Gabriel whispered. His fangs grazed his lower lip. "But this time you die before her blood spills." He descended the staircase, boots silent despite age-rotted steps, and strode into the courtyard. Moonlight gilded broken fountains. He moved faster, becoming shadow between pines until he reached a hidden clearing where the earth stank of turned soil, fresh disturbance above Malrich's old prison. The ground bulged and cracked. Not yet fully free then, but soon. Gabriel knelt, pressed a palm to cold dirt. Magic pulsed back, familiar as a nightmare, oily with hatred. He rose, jaw set. He needed allies in this world of humming wires and electric skies. He needed Lila to remember before Malrich claimed her confusion. And he needed blood, fresh and willing, to strengthen for the coming war. Inside her apartment, Lila kicked off dusty boots, dropped her camera bag, and collapsed onto the couch. City sounds drifted through open windows, distant sirens, laughter from pedestrians leaving late bars. She should have felt safe here, cocooned in modernity. Instead, each shadow seemed to breathe. She closed her eyes, planning to rest a minute. The minute stretched into dream. Candlelit halls unfurled before her. She wore an ivory gown, lace sleeves trailing. A ballroom shimmered, full of noble vampires swirling in polished shoes. At the far end, Gabriel waited. Though she did not know his name, she only felt her heart leap at the sight of him in crimson formal coat, dark hair tied back, gold sigil at his throat. Music swept their bodies together, his hand warm on her waist. She laughed. He whispered promises of forever. Then the doors burst inward. Malrich stepped through in black robes etched with silver runes, face gaunt but eyes bright with mania. He flung green fire. Screams tore through dancers. Gabriel shielded her, fire bit his shoulder. She tried to pull him away, but magic slammed her against a pillar. Malrich's incantation echoed, the world blurring. Pain laced her spine. She saw Gabriel shout her name, Ilara, then claws of shadow seized her heart. Everything went black. Lila gasped awake, sweat dampening her hair. The room spun. She clutched the couch cushion, trembling. A memory? Impossible. Her phone buzzed with a message from Trevor checking in. She typed a quick reassurance but hesitated before sending. In the faint glow of the phone screen, she caught her own reflection in the dark window. Pale, wide-eyed, lips parted as though waiting for a kiss that had traveled centuries. She whispered to the night, Ilara, and shivered when the name fit her mouth like a secret returned. Far across town, in a rooftop garden lit by neon, Gabriel lifted his face to the rising dawn. He felt her fear, a phantom brush against the bond pulsing back to life. He whispered into the thinning night, I'm coming, my heart. Clouds parted. First blush of sun crested the horizon. Gabriel vanished into shadow before light could touch him, mind set on the path between past and present, toward a reunion both heavenly and haunted, and a battle neither soul could dodge again. Morning rain tapped Lila's office window with impatient fingers. She stared at her computer, trying to finish an artifact report, but her mind replayed the dream in relentless loops. The smell of wax, the hiss of green fire, and the desperate sorrow on Gabriel's face, no, the stranger's face, felt too vivid to dismiss as nightmare. Earth to Lila, said Zoe Harper, her fellow archivist and best friend, setting a cappuccino on the desk. You've been zoning out since you walked in. Everything okay? Just tired, Lila murmured. Late night documenting the Valerian estate. Zoe perched on the desk corner. That cursed ruin, did you snag any good gargoyle shots? Some. Lila hesitated, then lowered her voice. We met a man there. He saved Trevor from falling through rotten floorboards. Weirdest part, he called me by a different name. Zoe sipped thoughtfully. Creep vibe or rom-com misunderstanding? Neither. He was ancient, elegant, like he stepped out of a lost century. Lila shivered. And I've had dreams about him ever since. Zoe's brows rose. Dreams. Flashes of a ballroom, a warlock in black robes, people screaming. My name was Ilara. Zoe grinned. Past life lover trope. You always read those gothic novels. Your brain's mixing research with fiction. Maybe. Lila forced a laugh. But it felt like a memory. Before Zoe could respond, the museum's main doors clanged open down the hall, echoing like a thunderclap. Lila pushed to her feet as Trevor hurried in, limping slightly. Lila, he gasped. Your guy's back, he's downstairs asking for you. Zoe's eyes widened. Well, that escalated. Lila's heartbeat ricocheted. Did he say his name? Gabriel Thorne. Trevor rubbed his arm. Pretty sure he could bend steel with a stare. I sent him to the restoration workshop. Figured fewer breakables. Zoe whispered, call security. No, Lila said, surprising herself. I'll talk to him. She found Gabriel alone in the workshop, rain-gray light filtering through skylights onto rows of antique frames and marble busts. He stood by a crate, studying a cracked portrait of a noblewoman in moonlit gown. His coat hung open, revealing simple black clothes dusted with raindrops. When he turned, his eyes lit with something fierce and gentle all at once. You came, he said softly. Lila kept a meter between them. Because you found me at my workplace. How did you even? I followed the bond. He eased the portrait back into its crate. Each heartbeat whispers your path. Listen, Gabriel, did you say your name was Gabriel? He inclined his head. I don't know what you think you feel, but I'm not the woman you lost. Your soul is, he answered, voice low. Names change, essence remains. Frustration flared. Souls don't have GPS, and I don't reincarnate on command. She folded arms to hide her tremor. Tell me the truth. How old are you, really? He studied her, weighing honesty. Then he removed a thin silver ring from his finger, rolling it between thumb and forefinger. The metal flared with faint crimson symbols. I was born in 1492, he said. I died my first death in 1526, rose as a guardian of my clan, and was entombed in 1691. He held the ring out. Press it to your palm. Lila hesitated, then accepted the cold ring. The moment metal kissed her skin, images flooded her mind. Gabriel wearing the ring at a moonlit wedding, sliding an identical band onto her past self's finger, vows spoken in a language older than Latin. She gasped, dropping the ring on the work table as if it scorched. Gabriel winced at her distress. I'm sorry, he said, but I needed you to see. How is that possible? She whispered, clutching the edge of a crate. Magic, carved in blood and vow. He stepped closer, slowly, like soothing a skittish animal. Ilara, Lila, planets may die, but the bond endures. Malrich tried to sever it. He failed. The name snapped her head up. Malrich, he was in my dream. Gabriel's jaw tightened. He is waking. His presence caused the floor to give beneath your friend. Small sabotage to draw you into fear's radius. I don't believe in sorcery. She shook her head, though conviction dwindled. And yet something is happening in my dreams. Show me proof that isn't hallucination. He drew a leather-bound journal from his coat. Its pages were brittle, ink faded but legible. My diary, he said. Written after we pledged eternity. Read aloud the entry, dated Harvest Moon, 1689. Hands trembling, Lila opened to the marked page. The curling script felt familiar under her fingertips. Tonight, Ilara danced among the roses. Her laughter stitched sunlight to the night. I thought my unbeating heart might learn to race again. Her voice broke. I've heard that sentence in my dream. Gabriel exhaled. I wrote it the dawn after our betrothal. Her defenses wavered under rising emotion. She closed the journal, eyes stinging. Say I am Ilara. Why seek me now? Why not let me live peacefully? Because Malrich hunts reincarnated souls. If he finds you unaware, he will kill you again. I cannot watch that future. Lila paced, running fingers through hair. Rain hammered the skylights. A coil of heat curled low in her stomach. Fear, yes. Also something sweet and dangerous when his eyes followed her like sunrise chasing night. She faced him. If I believe, what do we do? We recover your memory together. His voice softened. And prepare to fight. Zoe entered carrying 2 coffees and stopped, sensing intensity. Should I come back? Lila managed. Zoe, this is Gabriel. We're discussing family archives. Gabriel inclined his head politely. Zoe arched a brow, reading Lila's flushed cheeks. Sure, let me know if you need me. When she left, Lila swallowed. I want to see where it happened, the place in my dreams. Gabriel nodded. Then tonight I'll show you. Tonight? She glanced at the storm. Why not now? Because dusk marks Malrich's prime strength. I want the manor stripped of his influence before then. He withdrew a small glass vial of crimson liquid. I must feed, then ward the ruins. The word feed hovered between them like a blade. Lila wrapped arms around herself. You're a vampire. Yes. He searched her face. I will never drink from you without consent. She exhaled shaky relief. Go then. When you're ready, text me. She handed him her phone. He frowned at the device until she showed him how to open contacts. He typed with unexpected speed. I will send a location, he promised, then slipped out a side door, coat swirling. Lila sagged against the counter. Her world tilted. Diaries with memories that weren't hers. Vampires roaming halls. Destinies written in blood. A flicker of excitement sparked beneath the dread. Dangerous, exhilarating. Gabriel moved through alley shadows until he found a late-night clinic with its dumpster unsecured. 2 vials of expired blood would suffice. He never took from innocence if stored supply existed. The iron taste flooded his veins, strengthening muscle and magic dulled by centuries. Then he returned to the manor. He spread powdered silver and crushed moonstone in a circle around the crypt entrance, murmuring incantations in the tongue of the first blood mages. Red sigils flashed, sealing Malrich's prison for several hours. It would buy time. From the crater of loosened soil a whisper rose. The girl will die again. Gabriel bared fangs. Over my ashes. The whisper laughed. Night settled, wiping city neon into mirrored puddles. Lila parked outside the old botanical conservatory, its glass dome shattered by storms long ago. Gabriel waited beneath a wrought iron arch, silhouetted by flickering street lamp. She joined him, breath frosting. Why here? She asked. Your dream's ballroom is gone, he said, but this garden hosted our last festival. I hoped scents and shapes might trigger memory. They stepped inside. Moonlight streamed through broken panes onto tangled vines. Lila inhaled the faint perfume of wilted roses, and a shudder tore through her. She saw herself in that ivory gown again, moving among lantern-lit hedges, with Gabriel's hand warm in hers. Lightning split the clouds. Thunder rolled, shaking dust from rafters. Gabriel steadied her as she swayed with the vision. It's working, he murmured. She clutched his lapel, the world flickering between past and present, dancers twirling where vines now choked fountains, Gabriel laughing softly as he threaded a rose behind her ear. I remember, she whispered. Rain began tapping broken panels overhead. She looked up at him, eyes shining. We hid beneath the arbor. You kissed me. Promised no force could separate us. His voice cracked. Tears blurred her sight. But they did. Not again. He brushed thumbs across her cheeks, cold yet burning. The hush between them tightened until only their breaths existed. Lila rose onto toes, heart hammering. Their lips met, gentle first, tasting rain and centuries of longing, then deepening, with urgent recognition. Heat unfurled through her veins. Her hands tunneled into his hair, pulling him closer. Lightning illuminated the glass dome, painting them haloed silhouettes locked in timeless embrace. A sharp crack shattered the moment. Glass shards rained as a figure dropped from a rafter, talon-like boots skidding on wet tile. Cloak swirling, Malrich straightened, eyes glowing sickly green. Guardian, he crooned. And his little reincarnation. How touching. Gabriel pushed Lila behind him, fangs lengthening. Leave her. Malrich laughed, voice like grinding bone. I gave you death once. Ready for another taste? He hurled a bolt of emerald fire. Gabriel shoved Lila aside. The blast scorched ivy into ash. Gabriel lunged, striking with superhuman speed, but Malrich blurred away, reappearing on a crumbling balcony. You cannot shield her in this age, Malrich taunted. She is mortal again. Break her, and you break the chain. Lila's voice trembled but carried. I'm not your pawn. She reached for a fallen iron rod, instincts from forgotten sword lessons guiding her grip. Malrich sneered. Ilara reborn thinks she can fight. Gabriel's eyes burned crimson. She is not alone. He charged, but Malrich spun another spell. Vines ripped from soil, snaking around Gabriel's limbs. He struggled, muscles bulging as thorns pierced. Malrich advanced toward Lila, hand a halo of sickly energy. Once more into oblivion. Lila's memories flared, dying in a swirl of green flame, Gabriel screaming her name. The echo of that agony twisted into fierce resolve. She thrust the iron rod through Malrich's spell, disrupting the weave. The green light sputtered. Gabriel tore free of vines, appearing behind Malrich in a blink. He drove a silvered dagger, fashioned earlier from chandelier shards, into Malrich's back. The sorcerer shrieked, spinning to slash claws across Gabriel's chest. Black ichor sprang. Lila seized broken lantern glass and slashed Malrich's wrist. He bellowed, power stuttering. Gabriel grabbed Lila's hand, their blood mixing on shattered tile. A pulse of red light burst from them, forging a shield that repelled Malrich. He staggered, eyes wide. Impossible. Love is older than your hate, Gabriel growled. Together they advanced. Gabriel recited an ancient banishment phrase. Lila, guided by sudden clarity, echoed the final syllable from memory. Red flared, then white. Malrich screamed as light engulfed him, folding him into a void that snapped shut with thunder. Silence throbbed. Rain dripped through the dome, cooling the scorched air. Gabriel swayed. Lila caught him, pressing him to a marble bench tangled in roses. His shirt was torn, wounds knitting but sluggish. Are you bleeding out? She asked, voice shaking. Need rest, he rasped, and your forgiveness for failing you before. She cupped his face, and there's nothing to forgive, you came back. Pain softened into relief in his eyes. She leaned in, lips brushing his. Rest. I'm not leaving. He closed his eyes, head resting against her shoulder. Thunder rumbled away, leaving only rain and two hearts finally beating in tandem, the garden scent blossoming like memories reborn. They would face dawn together soon, wounds mending, souls reknit, and the promise that once ruptured would now become their shield. Gabriel lay against the marble bench, rainwater streaking the plains of his pale face. Lila tore strips from her damp coat and pressed them to the claw marks across his chest, though the wounds were already closing. The exertion of banishment had left him trembling. She felt the faint quiver beneath her palms. Your strength saved us, he murmured, voice rough velvet. You remembered. Pieces, she admitted. Enough to stop him. She stroked hair back from his brow. We need somewhere safer than a broken greenhouse. He nodded once. An ally nearby. He studies old powers. He'll shelter us. He tried to rise. Pain flashed across his expression, but determination overrode it. Lila braced her shoulder beneath his arm. They crossed slick tile to the conservatory doors. Outside, rain faded to mist, washing the city in silver. Gabriel steadied her by reflex, though each step cost him. She felt the heat of his gratitude like a pulse. Who is this ally? She asked as they reached her car. A historian named Elias Crow. He keeps an antiquarian shop on Calder Street, undercellars lined in warded stone. Gabriel eased into the passenger seat, movements controlled. Tell him the Crimson Guardian calls in his debt. As Lila pulled onto the avenue, streetlights haloed around raindrops. She glanced at Gabriel's profile, eyes half-lidded, jaw taut. Stay awake, she urged. Talk to me. What shall I speak of? Us, she said quietly. I want the memories I lost. He turned to her. You were born to a merchant family near the coast. Your laughter carried salt on the wind. A faint smile curved his lips. I met you during the Festival of Lanterns. You thought my solemnity absurd. You asked why a vampire with eternity wore sorrow like a cloak. What did you answer? That I'd never been given reason to lay it down until you. Rain thrummed on the roof. We walked the seawall at dawn. You told me stories of mortal failings, showed me beauty in their brevity. I realized immortality without wonder is just a longer grave. Tears stung her eyes. I remember the lanterns floating on black water. I remember thinking the night would keep us safe forever. As did I, he whispered. Then Malrich twisted my oath of guardianship. I was forced to watch darkness take you. She reached over, threading fingers through his. You're not alone now. They arrived at a narrow shop squeezed between towering glass offices. The window displayed dusty grimoires and tarnished astrolabes. Lila helped Gabriel to the door. It opened before she could knock. A gaunt man in spectacles peered out. Gabriel, he breathed, equal parts shock and relief. I felt the surge. Knew you had woken. Come inside. The shop smelled of leather and cedar. Lamps cast amber pools on Persian rugs. Elias locked the door, drew heavy curtains, then guided them down a staircase into a stone cellar lit by wrought iron sconces. A rune circle inlaid with copper glimmered in the floor. Place him there, Elias instructed. The circle accelerates recovery. Gabriel settled against a cushioned divan positioned at the circle's heart. He breathed deeply. Color returned to his cheeks. Lila hovered, unsure. Elias produced a ceramic cup filled with dark liquid. Boiled lamb's blood, fortified with ashroot. He'll mend faster. Gabriel drank, grimaced gratefully. Your debts grow thin, old friend. Your cause remains worth the tally. Elias's keen eyes shifted to Lila. And this must be she. Lila offered a tentative hand. Lila Morgan, apparently reincarnated. Elias shook firmly. Astonishing. Welcome back across centuries. She gave a nervous laugh. It's been a day. Gabriel reached for her wrist, tugging her gently to sit beside him. Elias will handle protections. Rest with me. Memory will weave as you dream. Lila eased against the cushions. Rain muffled in distant gutters. Gabriel lifted her hand to his lips, kissing the bandage where Malrich's magic had grazed. Warmth spiraled through her belly. Elias placed a cloth bundle on a side table. Relics from your past life. Rings, a hair comb, a diary fragment. They may speed recollection. He inclined his head. I shall ward the perimeter. He ascended the stairs, leaving them bathed in candle-lit hush. Lila opened the bundle, the twin ring, his and hers, rested atop embroidered silk. She slid it onto her finger. A soft gasp parted her lips as vision cascaded. Moonlit bedchamber, gauze curtains billowing. Gabriel's younger face above hers, whispering a vow against her throat. She traced his fangs, unafraid, marveling at the contrast of danger and devotion. Their bodies moved as one, slow and reverent. She saw herself arching, hair spilling over pillows, heard herself pleading never to wake from that bliss. The memory dissolved, leaving her flushed. Gabriel's eyes darkened, reading it in her expression. "Do you remember that night?" he asked, voice husky. Every breath of it. She leaned forward, pressing her mouth to his. Their kiss tasted of iron and ginger tea, of rainstorm and centuries-long ache. His hand slid to her waist, fingers splaying possessively. She climbed into his lap, straddling him atop the divan. He groaned as her weight settled. "Your wounds," she murmured. "Healed." His tongue traced her lower lip. "Let me prove life still sings in these veins." She cupped his face, devouring another kiss. Lightning spidered across cellar windows. Candle shadows danced around them while clothes loosened under desperate hands, her jacket sliding off, his shirt unfastened to reveal sculpted planes cooled by immortality. She pressed lips to the claw marks, now faint silver lines. He gasped, eyes glowing crimson with hunger, not for blood, but for her. He lifted her shirt. She raised arms, letting it fall. Chill air pebbled her skin. He worshipped the curve of her collarbone with velvet lips, trailing down until she trembled. She unhooked his belt, palm smoothing over muscles that rippled beneath. For a suspended heartbeat they paused, foreheads touching, sharing breath heavy with desire and tears. "I love you," he whispered, voice raw. "Across death, across time. And I you." She guided him into her, the reunion forging a moment so intense light seemed to flicker around the circle. They moved slowly, savoring rediscovered paths, building friction until reason melted in violet haze. Her nails bit his shoulders when pleasure crested. He bit back a cry, burying his face in her hair as release shuddered through them both. Bond renewed, ancient and timeless, stitched with new life. After she lay against his chest, candle flames steadied. Somewhere above, church bells chimed midnight. Gabriel stroked her hair. "Malrich is gone, but fragments may linger. We must choose our future, with caution." She traced the ring on her finger. "I choose you. Whatever centuries remain." He kissed her crown. "Then dawn will find us unafraid." Gray light seeped through cellar windows when Elias returned. He carried a newspaper with an alarming headline. "Historic Conservatory collapses after lightning strike. No mention of sorcery, only structural failure." Cover story already weaving. "Malrich's traces disperse," Elias reported. "But rumors travel. Hunters may sniff for arcane residue. You should leave the city till wards settle." Gabriel nodded. "There is a seaside manor untouched by war. Its cellars remain holy ground." Lila smiled softly. "The seawall where we walked." Gabriel's eyes shone. "Will you walk it again with me under modern stars?" "Try stopping me," she teased, and they packed only essentials. Elias's bundle of relics, a few volumes of lore, clothing from museum donations. Before leaving, Lila paused by the ring of copper in the floor. "This circle saved us," she said. "It was your courage," Gabriel corrected, lifting her hand. The circle merely witnessed. They stepped onto the morning street. Clouds parted, letting sunrise bathe buildings in gold. Gabriel pulled up a hood. Ancient magic let mild daylight touch him, but he remained cautious. Together they walked toward Lila's car. A breeze carried jasmine from a florist setting up stalls. Lila inhaled, startled. "It's the scent," she whispered. "Your wedding bouquet," Gabriel said. "Jasmine and sea lavender." She laughed, joy warming her chest. "I feel whole." They drove east, cityscape yielding to rolling hills. At a coastal lookout, they stopped. Waves crashed against cliffs, flinging salt spray into cool air. Lila exited, arms spread to wind. Gabriel joined, sliding arms around her waist from behind. "I stood here after your death," he said quietly. "Promised the sea I would wait eternity." She turned in his arms. Then eternity kept its word. He lowered his lips to hers in a kiss soft with sunrise, sealing vow anew. Gulls wheeled overhead, crying like heralds of second chances. Gabriel rested his forehead against hers. "Say the words," she whispered. He smiled, tears bright. "No force shall part our hearts again. In blood, in breath, in forever." "And I," she answered, "will find you in every lifetime until forever folds into nothing." They walked down the worn stone steps toward the beach hand in hand, footprints side by side. Behind them the past closed like a healed wound. Ahead of them horizons stretched wide, boundless, shining, theirs,